I think Spain is attractive to mobility programs for, of course, it's a beautiful place to be. The weather is always a very attractive piece. So I think people want to go, they want to be there. It has a very vibrant culture. But in addition to that, I think there's a lot of opportunity in Spain. It is becoming a country with a lot of talent, with a very international and global population as well. And so I think that it is going to be one of the countries to watch moving forward.
So I think one of the key parts about moving into Singapore is that it is truly a city-state that has undergone economical, cultural, and political globalization. We began as a little red dot that has earned its place on a global stage today. So I think it is because it has its well interconnectedness with many different parts of the world. It has a very cosmopolitan ambience that makes it attractive for assignees of different walks of life. So be it expatriates with families, single employees, or female travelers, I continue to think that Singapore is a destination that would be great for them, regardless of their profile. So the stable political environment makes it a lot easier for one to bring their family and settle. And for the same reasons, we do have a very diverse talent pool for transfer of knowledge, which I find that increasingly important, as everyone can bring in a different diversity of thoughts to support the business. So in that, Singapore also provides a lot of incentive for foreign investors, for businesses. They can take advantage of like double tax treaties. If I remember correctly, there were over 70 countries that we do have tax treaties with. And as a global mobility professional, one of the very important aspects for me is ensuring that we actually fulfill duty of care. So when it comes to relocating employees, safety and security, remains like my top consideration and priority. And Singapore's very safe environment does make it attractive for employees coming into Singapore, as they will feel safe and confident when it comes to integrating into the communities.
Australia actually has a major initiative as far as the global talent visa underway at the moment. So there's actually a really big attraction tool for subject matter expertise in their field to look to relocate to Australia and look at settling down here more long term. I understand that the global talent visa provides a direct pathway to permanent residency and is open to individuals who are at the top of their field within their particular subject matter area. And so obviously that needs to be evidenced and a process needs to be gone through. But, that's a pretty exciting regime that's going on at the moment, especially for the science sector that I'm in, where you have a lot of academics and individuals that are performing at the top of their fields. So it does enable organisations within Australia to attract the top talent to come to Australia and live more permanently. Obviously, the lifestyle in Australia is very attractive to a lot of individuals out there, and I think that the way that the country also managed and is continuing to manage the pandemic also speaks quite strongly to the lifestyle and the quality of living here in Australia.
I think it's obviously a high cost location, but it also, with the high cost, also comes a lot of benefits. So as I said, there's a great immigration system. It's very easy to navigate. It's easy to get a multitude of different segment of workers. In some other locations, you do need to have like prior service. You need to have a certain seniority. In the UK, there are many different segments that you can get into there. I think also, while it is a high cost location in London, there's also an abundance of housing, which means that it is pretty easy to move people here, provided that you have an appropriate cost framework that isn't necessarily afforded to you in cities like Berlin, Amsterdam, Dublin, where housing is so scarce and so extremely expensive that it is that we're finding it extremely difficult to navigate at the moment. So I think London's ease of transport, the transport links are fantastic within London and also from just outside London as well to get into the city. So that's a huge boon for London, I think, that isn't really available in many other European cities. So that'll be one of my main things. I think also, especially now as well, post-Brexit, I think real estate is also relatively cheap as well. So setting up offices or scaling up is also much more possible than in some other locations.
First of all is the cultural richness that Mexico brings. We have these very culturally diverse location, even within Mexico as a country. So you would see people not having the same background when you go from north to south, going to center Mexico. So that allows for additional diversity and inclusion when it comes to global mobility, even when you move people within the same country. And when you talk about cross-border, it definitely brings growth to the table. One thing that I've seen in my experience is that when companies enter Mexico, they realize that as Mexico as a culture likes to have their branding. And with that, companies that have been successful in entering the country as a business have differentiated their business locally through a specific branding. And that has enabled I think the country to be continuously growing, continuously changing, and that is, I think, one of the key things of why global mobility is so interested in also entering the country.
I think the UAE government has played a great role in really introducing and facilitating the move of expatriates from different countries, because it's very open to all nationalities, and slowly it's introducing laws and regulations that supports the new expatriates from different regions in order to let them live here comfortably with no regrets. So for example, just recently, now expats do not need a liquor license to buy, for example, alcohol. Now unmarried couples can live together with no marriage certificate. For example, the life insurance in the UAE is usually divided as per the Sharia or the Islamic law in the UAE. However, the new law has introduced that all expats are subject to their home death insurance. So this is something that is very important to note, and it's really an important change and a milestone in our country.
In the Netherlands, there is expatriate tax regime, which provides you a possibility to have 30% of your income free of tax for 5 years. Of course, if certain conditions are met. So this is a very rewarding benefit, which almost all expatriates that they are eligible for this regime, they are using, because it means saving a lot of money for them, at least for first 5 years. And the Dutch tax system has also another reward. So if you decide to settle down here and even invest in the Netherlands by buying a house with a mortgage, you can get a huge benefit from deducting these mortgage rates from your taxes in the Netherlands, which also means less taxes for you. And there is one small tip: this house or property should be, of course, bought in the Netherlands. So you cannot deduct mortgage from abroad. So that's a very rewarding tax system for all expats who would like to settle down in the Netherlands and save some money.
I think that one of the things that makes it so attractive is the level of support that provided from a mobility perspective when coming to the US. I can think back to a previous organization that I worked for that was a very large global organization, and in speaking with my colleagues that worked in other countries and comparing of benefits and support provided from an assignment standpoint, it was arguably night and day. And night and day in the sense that the US support was just much greater.
Now is the time to invest in Germany. We are right there. I think Germany is welcoming people abroad, so it's quite easy to actually obtain a work and residence permit. The country itself is encouraging foreign qualified labor to come in and support the economy, and you should take use of this. Germany is a place to be and a place to live. No matter if you're in Stuttgart like myself or Berlin, Germany has a lot to offer. But at the end of the day, Germany encourages for the assignees, encourages them to move here, and for the businesses, it's very easy to open a business, and it's very easy to get the operations going, and very sort of limited obstacles in order for your operations to get going.
So I think the difficulty with coming to Canada, I think some people are quite taken back by the weather. There's different seasons here, right? So, I never thought about it myself, having lived in Canada all my life, but we deal with a winter with a lot of snow potentially, to a summer, to a spring, wrong order, hold on. So I think that's really it. It's just the climate I think people are taken aback by, right? So I think one of the things that people are surprised by with Canada is the diversity in climate. So we're dealing with 4 seasons here that can be very different and contrasting. So for instance, moving people from what is normally a tropical location to Canada, where they're arriving here in the winter, having to deal with snow, they're dealing with having to get a whole new wardrobe, getting a coat and boots, and learning how to navigate through the snow, which can be quite challenging. So I think that's the one thing that, some feedback I've gotten from people who've relocated to Canada is something they've had to deal with and were quite surprised by.